Hello YouTube and fellow preppers, I'm Geordie Prepper, and today's video is another tutorial on the free and open source video encoding and transcoding program HandBrake. So if we look at this, some clips from a camera, I've just been shooting again the old trusty turntable as I have done in the previous tutorials on HandBrake. So basically I just shot some footage of me putting a LP onto the record player and it beginning to play. And then what I did was I just let the camera run for approximately 8 minutes, just showing the LP spinning. And this was really just to create a large video file here so that I could show you the size in the files that have been pre-processed in HandBrake. One thing that I do when I take my video clips is I'll just look through them very quickly and I'll just see that they are, what they're supposed to be. Usually I'll do like 2 or 3 takes of a clip. So you can see here on this one, I'm just opening the record deck. I'm taking the needle protector off. And this first shot was okay. So I think I'm going to use it. So as this is demonstrated on macOS, I just hit green. Yes, I'm going to use it. And then I'll just move on to the next clip. And this is the second take of where I take the needle off, the needle protector off. But as you can see here, I knocked the camera. Now that was intentional, obviously, just for the purposes of this, but because I knocked the camera, this clip isn't going to be suitable, so I just mark this one in red so that I'm not going to use it. And I know that the last clip is just of a long play view of the record actually playing, so I'll label that one green. So there you can see that the raw from the camera, I had 7 camera files and I'm actually only going to use 4 of them. So basically what I do then is I take these files and then I'll copy them to my video drive, just raw files you could call it, and I just paste them in. So I'll skip past until that's done. Okay, so the camera files from the SD card have copied across. These are the 4 usable files that we're going to be putting into the video edit. And this file here is simply just the tutorial that you're watching, the first part. So we have our files here, which in total add up to about 1.8, 1.85 gigabyte here. So what we really need to do is to remove all of the unnecessary aspects of that file, which are taking up a lot of space and would make your file, even when imported into your video editing program, a bit bloated, contain information which you're not really going to use. And like I've covered in previous videos and in HandBrake tutorials, one aspect which is often overlooking is the audio aspect. And I know that my camera that I shoot my video with records the audio at 48 kilohertz, which is simply a bit too high. And what I do is in HandBrake, I'll reduce that to 44.1 kilohertz and 128 kilobits per second on the compression side. So what I'll do is we'll go into HandBrake now and we'll import these files into HandBrake, and I'll show you what I do to condense the video size down. Okay, so here we are in HandBrake now, and if you've gotten yourself familiar with HandBrake, this will be familiar with you now. I've already inputted some files which are shown here in the queue, but what I've done is I've selected the next file which I'm going to process. Obviously, if you're familiar with HandBrake and the presets which you have here on the right hand side are ones that I use often. So at the minute I've got it on my setting for processing the camera raw files at 1080p, which is the quality of the video that I shot. So the one thing that you'll notice if you use HandBrake is that it doesn't always save your audio setting that you set up. I don't know why, and if anyone knows how to fix that, then please let me know. So basically, like I said earlier, the audio is often overlooked, so what we want to do here is we just want to make sure that the audio file sizes and the quality is consistent across them all. So as with the previous files here in the left, I selected a sample rate of 44.1 kilohertz and a bit rate of 128. Now it's likely that YouTube reduces the bit rate even further, so 128 is perfectly fine for any project that you're going to put on YouTube especially. Now as the camera raw files are in MP4 format, on this setting they export it as MP4. Web optimized is unticked because at this point you're not going to upload them to the web, so there's no point having that ticked. And obviously, as I've talked about in a previous video, I've used the advanced settings. Now the one thing to note here is the constant quality setting here, which I have on 20. Now, the further to the right that you move this slider is going to be the higher the quality of the video file. As these are the raw files from the camera, I don't want to lose too much of a quality in them. I want there to be very little or non-noticeable difference in the quality between the two files. So I have it at a setting of 20, which I experimented with, and I found that 20 was adequate. I couldn't notice the difference between the two files. You know, obviously I'm not using like a 4K camera. If the higher the quality of the video that and the camera that you're using, then obviously you might notice a bigger degradation. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to experiment with this setting and just move it left or right to suit you. And you know, the quality of the files that you import into your video program should be very high quality, so you don't want them compressed at this stage very much. So before you add it to the queue, just double check that the audio is correct and that your setting here is what you use it at. And then just make sure that the picture settings is correct down here, that there's no cropping or anything. And then what you do is you basically just add that to the queue and then you process the video clips. Alright, so we can see here that the files have processed, and now I just go to the folder where they end up in. So this is my HandBrake optimized folder. Anything that HandBrake optimizes is put into this folder, and we can see here that between the two the differences between the files basically. If you look at the 1793, that was 72.7 megabyte, it's now 17.5, and if you look at the very large file, 1.5 gigabyte, and the HandBrake optimized is 368.8 megabyte. I mean, you can mess around with the settings and you can basically get them so that you notice very little difference in the actual video. And up until the point that you can actually notice, you're taking away a huge amount of information that you just basically you're not seeing and is just redundant. So we started off with basically 1.8 gigabytes of files, and we've reduced that down to approximately 460 megabyte, which is going to make a huge difference when you then import the files into your video program. Then you're not having anything excessive in the file, like very large audio portion of the file. You're not having, you know, a massive amount of information in the video part of the file either, and then that makes it render in your video editor much quicker. So if we just go to the video program now, and I just use iMovie. So I just made a little test project here. So basically what we want to do is we just want to import those video files into iMovie. Once the files are in iMovie, I just made a very quick simple project here. So that's it, the project's complete, and then obviously we just do like we do any other project and we export it from the video editing program. So this has been Geordie Prepper. I'll see you in the next video.